Okay, the materials we're going to be using today are a pencil to draw the rock, a mixing brush to mix the paint up, a painting brush to actually paint the rock, a pipette to get water out of the water container and put it into the mixing area, and a kneaded eraser that will lighten up the line when we start painting, and a tube of sepia. Okay, now we're going to start mixing 3 values of sepia, a dark, a medium, and a light value of sepia. So Debbie will start by opening the tube of sepia, squeezing out a small amount in a mixing area, and she'll put the lid back on. Now we'll add just enough water to make it so that it will flow on the paper. We want it to be very dark and very thick. So how many drops? 4 drops approximately. And now we'll use the mixing brush, just an old bristle brush, and we'll see if that's enough to mix it thoroughly, to mix the darkest value. We want to get it out of the brush and get enough of a puddle that we can then move to the next side. Now we're going to take some of that mixture of the darkest sepia and put it in the next well and add a couple of drops from the pipette into that mixing well and mix that all up. And that's a little lighter than the first one. Now we're going to take some of that and put it in the third mixing well. Take some of the second mixing well and put it in the third, and add some water to that to make it even thinner. Okay, now that's the setup. We test it on a test strip to see if it is lighter. If it's not, we add more water to it. We need a middle value, so let's take some of the first and mix it in with the middle value to make it just a little darker, and test that. Okay, that's going to work. So now that's the first thing, is getting 3 values of sepia. The next step is to draw the rock, first of all with a soft, we'll be using a soft lead so that you can see it on the camera. Make the rock that will be a good size. Now, we will wet the interior of that rock with a brush and some clear water. We don't want a puddle inside, but we want the entire shape of the rock wet with a shiny, wet surface. So first of all, it'll be shiny wet on one end, and as you go across, the first end will start drying, so we'll add water as we go until we have a uniformly shiny, wet surface. And you tip it back and forth or look at it at an angle to see, is it shiny, or if there are any dull spots. If there are dull spots, just fill those in. We will start filling the rock from the top line down, and we'll do the first third by taking the lightest value of sepia, loading the brush, wiping it on the edge, and then start dabbing it into the wet of the rock along the top. It will flow out to the line. And after we have that, we will take some of the darker mix and add just below that lighter mix and gently overlapping. We'll go right below it for the middle value. And then last, we'll get the darkest value. And here we will turn the board upside down to make it easier to see where you are going. And tap it right below the line. Now take a line, one brush stroke all the way across to make it smooth at the bottom. There we go. Now let's turn it back. Well, basically at this point we have a rock that has light at the top, then middle, and then the darkest value at the bottom. Now we're going to pretend that this rock is in water, and we want to make a layer that looks like it might be water. So we're going to take load the brush with the darkest paint, and we're going to take one stroke from left to right and make it a quick stroke. Doing below it. Doing below that. There you go. That's it. We have 3 values of sepia. We're going to blot out one area, which will be the lightest of the rock, and that will be the highlight. So taking a facial tissue and going to the area where the sun is shining strongest and blot that out.